roast us. That's fun.
All right. Hello, and welcome to a live stream, Scribes and Friends Part 3. I am your host, Dave Lawson, and today I am here with two individuals who both have beards. We've got G.J. Terral, author of the Binding Tenets trilogy, doing his best to become his main character, Lynn. If you've ever looked at his book covers, go look at those. Look at Greg. He's becoming him. Basically what we're finding out is that it's all just self-insertion.
Scraggly, and I'm trying to
you just got to get the ponytail.
Try to get there. Yeah, I need a baby.
And then you heard it here first, guys. He's going to have a baby soon so that he can recreate this cover.
We are going to start trying.
We also have ZB Steele, who is known for the most curse words in a 200-page novel in the history of writing.
I got like a world record book coming in soon, so that'll be cool. Honored to be considered a friend that's never been bestowed upon me before, so it's cool to be here.
Yes, this is Scribes and Friend. I'm the scribe. ZB is the friend, and then Greg is here.
I was just here.
So, I told you, Greg, before we went live, said we're going to have people in the chat acting like no one was going to be here, and I said, no. Shane will probably be here. And look, there he is. Shane is here. What's up, Shane? Tim is here.
Yeah.
Lorraine is here, and she says you have a cool cut.
Oh, yeah, it's very fashionable.
That's actually
it was for the wedding.
Slang for Greg, you suck.
Oh.
Shane says the fear in his eyes. That's just ZB's natural expression.
My eyes.
Says, hi, all. And then Shane asks the real important questions. Where is the monkey?
Probably still down in South America, where I had to leave him. But it was a fun relationship while it lasted. He only bit me 2 times, so.
Haven't we all gone to South America and had fun relationships while they lasted?
Probably. Good chance.
ZB,
of that.
where's the fox?
Off camera, Greg admitted he smuggled the monkey in.
He actually, he has the monkey wearing a corgi suit, so where you think it's a corgi, but it's actually a monkey in a corgi suit.
He's at the door, just begging to be let in, but he's so loud. There's a lot of noise. So
Bella's here. She says hi, everyone. Tim laughs, probably at something I said. That's pretty normal. Richard's here. He says, oh my, what a trio of beards. So there's my beard, which is fantastic. ZB's beard, which is fantastic. Where's the third tree? Where's the third in the tree of good beards?
It must be like the monkey or something.
Yeah, the monkey, if you just let the monkey in, we'd be able to see that third good beard. So we are here to talk about some books and then to quiz our authors here, especially ZB, on his feelings on foxes, among other animals.
All right.
But first off, to get started, I would like to give you guys a chance to tell us about your books. Show us your books, pitch us your books, all that kind of stuff. So as the friend, ZB, you'll go first.
All right. As you can see, hopefully right there, I'm not super good with cameras and stuff. I just recently released An Inkling of Flame, which is a novella in support of Song of the Damned. Whisper of the Storm comes out March 25th. E-arcs should be ready sometime next week. It's a dual narrative, backwards timeline, whatever you want to call it. Kind of like Name of the Wind, kind of like Covenant of Steel, that kind of narrative structure where most of it's first person, the character's telling a story, and then we jump to present tense where we see where the character is. A lot of banter, a lot of cussing, a lot of blood.
3 of our favorite things.
Yeah.
Do you have a copy of the book that you can show us up close?
Oh, I do. cover art was done by my sister-in-law, actually, Angela Manning, who has a website. If you want to check it out, because she is fantastic. Some people say that there's no foxes in the book, Dave, but I think the cover fits once you've read the book.
Yeah,
I have read the book.
And you still don't think it fits? I think it like narratively.
I mean, it fits, yes.
Yeah,
but also there are still no cute foxes.
Yeah, it fits, but like not in the way you would expect. But man, the amount of people I've had talk to me about like, oh, it's such a cute cover. I'm like, not good. This is not what you're looking for.
It is not a cute book.
It's not a cozy fantasy. No,
it's not a cozy fantasy. Lorraine asked the important questions. Do foxes die?
In general, or like the one on the cover? Because that answer might depend. But I think you have to read the book and find out. I can't reveal any answers yet.
Lorraine, this is not really a spoiler. There are no actual fox animals in the story. So it's more of a symbol.
That's one of my selling points, though. I need the people who want the cute stuff. So, Dave, you owe me a little bit of money now.
Well, I'll buy another copy of it for 99 cents.
I'll take that.
And Lorraine says, "God damn," because she just wants the foxes. Shane says it's a very cozy book.
If Shane said it, well, I don't know, because Shane has just like horrible music opinions. Shane's an interesting.
He also has horrible like sports opinions.
Jeez.
That's true. Yeah. It's like it's like he invested all of his stats into like good book opinions, and then everything else just horrible taste.
Yeah, especially like the college sports thing, horrible taste, like absolutely the worst taste you could ever find. He will not. We're just telling the truth over here. So Greg, we're gonna go ahead and let you describe yourself, pitch your books.
Sure. I'm the author of the Binding Tenants trilogy, which the third book is set to release in May. I would have a proof copy here with me to show, which I haven't done the cover reveal for yet. But the cover has to have the dimensions tweaked just a little bit, which I'm working on after this live stream. Just to get it to fit, and then I can get my proof ordered, and then I'll see 3 beautiful books side by side. The cover artist is Cristiana Leone, an Italian artist, and she's done all 3 covers in this trilogy, as well as some special portraits that I had done recently of 4 characters. To put it very simply, the Binding Tenants trilogy is a story about a man named Lynn, who basically is on a mission to escort 2 allies of his. And then from chapter 1, shit hits the fan. And it doesn't really ever stop. There's a little bit of a murder mystery element to it. All the insanity. That's great. A little bit of a murder mystery element to it. But it's really more a focus on sort of the internal struggle that Lynn's dealing with as his world that he believes in is sort of ripped out from underneath him, and he has to come to terms with kind of the truth of the world. So that's it. Lots of monsters, lots of magic.
Are we sure that the real reason you haven't shown us your third book is just because your blurb is still just blurb, 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 blurb?
No, I fixed it. I had to adjust the blurb for the Amazon proof and all that good stuff. So it's no longer blurb, 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 blurb. It's blurb, period, blurb, 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 period, blurb, blurb, comma, blurb, blurb, blurb. So I put the punctuation in for you. I know that was bugging you. So
I mean, it's really all that I ask for. So those of you most of you probably know this because we've got mostly Scribes and then Shane and Tim. But basically on like what his artist sent back, it said blurb in that spot is like placeholder to show where the blurb would go. It just said blurb a bunch of times. And someone in the Scribes chat said something along the lines of, Greg, you might want to work on the blurb. I'm not sure if it really like is getting across what you're going for with this book.
Honestly, though, I think by book 3, people aren't just picking up the third book, so I could probably just leave it blank, and it's not going to draw any new readers to the series, is what I'm thinking. So, but you never know,
Could you imagine
I have
reading the first 2 books and like the blurb for the third one sucked?
so
I'm out.
Amazon does this kind of neat thing that I hadn't seen before, where it'll show customers who bought like book 2. It shows like what they also bought beforehand or what led to. And so I have seen people, an instance of people find book 2 first for some reason, and they go and pick up the first book because of that. And so it is a thing that I guess can happen, but I don't think it's too frequent. It ends. Yeah.
Basically, you could say, that baby that's on cover of book 1, he dies. And just
no. Let's, I've had so many comments about the baby, and it's, the choice to put a child on the cover and stuff. And I think there was 1 or 2 people who were like, hey, I just want to make sure like nothing happens to that baby, right? Because this is like a dark fantasy sword and sorcery. And it sort of spoils the plot a little bit, but it's like, no, the baby's safe. Like, don't worry about it. Like, I'm not going to hurt a little child like that. That's crazy. But I might be lying.
I mean,
who knows?
That's fair. Like in my books, I've basically, when people have asked, I have said absolutely none of the animals that aren't spiders will die.
Right.
The spider died. Yes. All the other animals, all the cute wolves and cute horses and cute dogs and stuff, they live. No one kills
or they get like off-screen deaths that just aren't
No.
mentioned, that sort of thing.
They're all immortal.
Oh, no off-screen. Okay. That's a choice. I think we're 3 very different writers here then.
I mean, yes,
Dude,
Alex,
I'm feeling evil
kids
here.
die, kids get in danger, but animals, no. I have standards. I have morals.
I think, Zach, nobody's
so
safe
Alex
for Zach.
says, well, look what we have here. And then he said, Dave, your whole plot is about kids getting in danger.
Remind me again how old Gen and Corden are?
Jen and Corden are about 30.
Oh, okay. Yeah, they're not kids. See, the kids that they rescue. I see.
The children that they're trying to rescue.
Yes, that's true. Okay, that's fair.
Yeah, I mean, I'll say
Lorraine and I were both
more evil than the rest of y'all.
Yeah, when they turn 18, the kids all die. Avid Book Junkie says hello. How is all?
All is how. Very well.
That's a good question, Shane.
How much spice is in book 3?
For me? 0. Unfortunately, the Binding Tenants trilogy is basically 0 spice. But the end of book 2, there is a scene requested by Bill that was added in that I think fits the narrative really well. And there's a lot of sort of emotional timing.
So basically what happened was Bill wouldn't stop messaging him like hate mail until Greg added in this scene between the characters that Bill was shipping. So it's basically, it is now canon that they're together and will be forever, because otherwise Bill will burn down Greg's house.
Yeah, Bill definitely sent me a message or 2 as he read book 3. So he had feelings for sure. So we want spice. I just I thought that my other project, the one I'm working on now, would have a little bit, because it's a little bit, there was more room for that than in, this, because the plotting of the Binding Tenants is very fast paced. Everything really happens in like 6-ish months. So Lynn doesn't have a chance to breathe, let alone have intercourse or something. So, I thought maybe the next project would, and so far book 1 doesn't really have spice either. So I might just be a spiceless writer, but not because I don't want to. It just hasn't fit into the narrative yet. So
Lynn's
all right.
not going to South
Lorraine
America
and Bella are in the chat. They're writing enough spice for all of us.
Yeah.
And then, Zach, are you going to write any spice in your books?
I got one scene that's like mildly spicy. I don't really know how the book talk girlies do it. Like I see like they like measure it in peppers or something.
Yeah.
So I need like a dedicated romantasy author or reader just to like really be like, this is like a 2 out of 5 or whatever.
It's like a green pepper out of 5.
I think it's more than a green pepper, but I need like a dedicated like I've read 400,000 books of porn to really tell.
Erotica.
Erotica, yes, whatever term they prefer.
Finally fucks a Binding Tenant story. Maybe a novella at the end of everything. No, you want to read an excerpt of your spice and let the professionals in our audience review it for you? Tell you
I'll just be. It's way too early in the day for that. I'll be blushing like a tomato.
fair.
Well, Alex, you haven't sent it to me, so how am I supposed to tell you? Come on.
Yeah, Alex is working on something, and the number of times I'm beta reading it, well, alpha/beta reading it for him now, and it's the descriptions of abs so far. There's plenty, so I think I know the spice is coming. You know, it's a slow burn up to it. So,
are there like rippling forearms and thighs striding into the room?
Yeah, a bunch of hunky dudes. So
it's actually the name of the book. It's just called Hunky Dudes.
Hunky Dudes.
I'd be in.
I have never written spice into fantasy.
Okay.
But
so you had some in your literary fiction.
But I've done like some spoofy things before. But
okay.
So like at some point I could definitely write it. I just don't know if I want to.
Yeah.
Because I don't know. There are exactly 8 hunky dudes. 8 hunky dudes by Alex Schuerman. So yeah, we'll have to see which of the 3 of us actually breaks into. Oh yeah, I did. I mean, I've definitely written, like I said, spoofy spice, easiest thing in the world to write.
I think that was one of the most popular Spice Girls.
Hard.
Good point.
Spoofy Spice, yeah. It's actually one of my favorite Spice Girls.
What is a rescue scene?
So, I think I was. So it was like a. She was writing a scene where there was a rescue happening, and I rewrote it to just be a smutty rescue instead of like actually a rescue.
Gotcha.
So along the same lines, what are some of the books that you have on the horizon in the next few years?
Like to write or to read?
I mean, either, I guess.
So I'm going to finish Song of the Damned and the Hinterlands trilogy. After that, it'll kind of depend on where I'm at, because one thing I'd really like to do is when my kid is like 7 or 8, I want to write her like a YA Dragon Rider thing where she's the main character, something like that.
That's cool.
Yeah. But it depends on how old she is, where I am in life, that kind of thing. That's my current plan, Song of the Damned and the Hinterlands trilogy.
So is Fathom for a few hours more? Whenever you type out the letters, I just think of it as Fathom. Is it a standalone and another world that is not going to have more in it, or
that is the Hinterlands trilogy? But they are also kind of like standalones, where the second one, the first draft is finished, and it's entirely different characters, pretty much. Like the main characters from the first one who survived appear, but they're not the protagonists. They're really only in it for like less than 10 pages max. And then for the third one, I'm not sure what I'm going to do. I might grab some from the first one, might grab some from the second one, whoever's left, really.
And Whispers is not a part of this.
Correct.
Okay. I didn't actually
Whispers
realize
is Song of the
had
Damned. That's its
more
own beast.
books in the Fathom series. I was thinking like Whispers was the start of a new trilogy that you were.
Yeah, Whispers is Song of the Damned, book 1. And that's about this cat named Redlin who like Shane, I think you'll like it. If you don't like it, I will end my career.
It's a
It's a lot of pressure on you.
Shane, please, we're begging of you. Hate it.
do us all the favor. Wait, so is Inkling of Flame? It's connected to the Song of the Damned, right? Or
Yeah.
no? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
And it's a little weird because it's a dual timeline and everything, where like it's technically a prelude or whatever, but also like a lot of the stuff that happens in it will happen in book 3.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Shane is ready.
Yeah, I hope so. Anyways, that's what's on my horizon. Greg, what about you?
So in May, the last book in the Binding Tenants trilogy, Bloodless, will release to roaring applause, I'm assuming. And then Dave's face is like, well, fuck, maybe. He's like, good luck, bud.
I was actually reading the comments.
Yeah, okay. So I've got a few titles on deck. I've got the Crystallium Depths saga, which I'm calling it, because I think it's only going to be 2 books, but it'll depend on how the plot, like the full plotting of book 2 goes, to see if it needs to be more than just 2. And that's Cracks of the Deepest Black and Facets of the Brightest Crystal. And that's heavily inspired by like my love for Final Fantasy, Legend of Zelda. Bill helped really inspire it because I saw how he sort of incorporated some of his love for that genre of stuff into the God's Blood tragedy and stuff like that, and gave me the confidence to see that like it can be done while also putting like your own twist on it and making it uniquely your own while paying homage. So got to give him credit for giving me the confidence to move forward and letting me rip off his stuff, because that's essentially what I'm doing. And then I've got Of Stars Below, which is for sure a duology. And I've had that one cooking for a really long time because it is a lot broader of a scale, something sort of in the same realm of scope as like the First Law. And then way past that, I've got Whispers of the Wildwood, which is inspired by my love for, oh gosh, I'm blanking. Like Princess Mononoke and Studio Ghibli styled films, where the main protagonist is going to be a bit younger. It'll be all the wild love of like fantasy and the wilderness and all that good stuff. So we'll see. I've got a lot of stuff on my plate, and hopefully I can do it all before we have a kid, but who knows?
Every time Greg talks about all of his different series, I just feel so like inferior, because I've got like, I've written one book and I've got a novella that's going to come out this year. And then I'm like, I've got to write the second book. I'm like, what other books? Well, I'll probably write a third book in the series. Like, have you thought about other ones? Maybe. And he's like, here's this one with this title. Here's this one with this title. Here's this trilogy I'm going to be writing in 4 years. And I'm just like, I'm never going to be as good as this. I can't even think of a title for the book next book I'm going to write.
Quality over quantity, Dave. So
Greg is just like, you've got so much going on, and it's awesome. Like that you have it all set up that way. Like, what you're going to write. A lot of it you already kind of have at least some of the early drafts done on them. And it's just, it's very, for someone like me who I think got into it a few years after you, the whole like actually trying to write to publish for people besides your just your family to read thing. It's been cool for me to see like, okay, that's something to aspire to, with like the setting up several different projects and trying to like have things going in the future, because like we look at these people who are actually selling lots of books and making money, and what's the thing they have in common? They all have a bunch of books out.
Yeah.
And
So Of Stars Below and that sort of series, I keep moving it back on my timeline, but it's because it is, like I said, sort of a more grand, like 5 POV sort of thing. And I wrote it before Bloodwoven was even an idea, and then it went through. It's on like draft 3 now, and I haven't touched it in maybe a year and a half, 2 years. But I'm still very confident it's a good story. I just need to go in and clean it up. But my buddy, who's followed along with me this whole time, knows what I've been working on. I told him about this, Cracks of the Deepest Black, and he's like, "Hey man, I feel like you're just scared to put out Of Stars Below." And I'm like, "No, I'm not. I promise I'm not scared. I want to put this out. I just want to make sure that maybe I have like an established audience first, because it's going to be, draft 3 is at 200,000 words. It's a big book, and we've talked about it a lot in the Scribes with some of our other like really thick book writing authors, that it's sort of scary to put out like a book that big, because a lot of people won't give you a chance on it. And so I'm just trying to establish an audience if I can. So we'll see.
Yeah, I mean, I've always heard the best advertising for your own book is to write more books. So hopefully at this point, like when you should have 3 or 4 or 5 books out when you're kind of. I always like hearing like people have like ideas for like a magnum opus. Like it seems like you're really kind of crushing it.
Maybe I don't.
That's the one to watch out for sure.
Greg is crushing it. Like he's got like in a few months he's going to have the whole trilogy out. He's got the collection of shorts. He's got the novella, and then all of these future books already planned and set up. Like if you're out there and you're a reader and you're like, I don't know, these authors, they say they're writing these books and they never finish their series. He's basically already got the series finished, and he's got these other ones. So I feel like he's a pretty trustworthy horse to back in this race.
Writing wise, yeah, but like morally,
I mean, he went to a Whataburger wedding. There's no morals there.
It was awesome. They did such a good job. We weren't.
So Poppy, go ahead.
No, go ahead, please.
Poppy says she's talked to most of us now in the chat too. We're all doing so fantastic. It's such a pleasure getting to meet and know and cheer for all of you. All of you are so neat, except for you, Dave.
That's the fine print. It's implied.
I mean, that's just the way it is. Oh, here we go. The important stuff. So tell us a little bit about this Whataburger wedding before we move on.
Sure. So my buddy, actually the same friend who was like, "Hey, I feel like you're putting Of Stars Below on the back burner," right? He entered a sweepstakes at the end of December. That would be like 200 videos essentially are submit. Well, like I think they accepted 500 videos, right? And then of that, only maybe 200 of the videos were eligible entries for one reason or another. And so they narrowed it down to like him and a few others. And they ultimately Whataburger chose him to sponsor their wedding. So he got flown out to Vegas. It was a whole thing where he was married in the Whataburger there, and it was really cool. So this Whataburger had two floors and 2 bars, like a bar on each floor, while also selling the burgers and stuff. And it was really interesting. And aside from that, we did karaoke. We ate a bunch, drank a bunch. It was an absolute blast. And without it, I'm not sure he would have been able to even have a wedding. So it was really, really awesome. That was it. Sponsored.
I definitely walked by that Whataburger when I was in Vegas last summer.
Yeah.
Because I'd never been to Vegas until last summer, but my wife had a conference. Actually more of like a board meeting, but there was a conference connected to it. But she was really just going for the board meeting. But I just sort of popped on and went on the trip too, paid for a plane ticket, and then had free lodging and everything like that. And then while she was in her meetings, I just sort of explored the strip and
Yeah.
walked by the Whataburger. There's not much I can eat there because I'm gluten-free.
Fair.
So.
Yeah.
Do they still have those people doing the card slapping in Vegas?
Card slapping.
So when I went, and I don't know if this is still a thing, they had like these contact this hooker card, and they had like 2 decks, and they'd slap them together. And so the streets were just littered with like these, they look kind of like Pokemon trading cards or something, but it was just like chicks with their tops off.
I've
Shane
never seen
apparently
that,
knows what
but-
you're talking about.
Yeah, I
Here's
guess
the
you
real
know.
thing, I
He
promise.
says escort cards. It sounds glorious.
I promise.
I
This is a
did
real
not
thing.
just change around the order that those were said to make it look like Shane was talking about that.
Yeah, Shane's booking a flight to Vegas right now.
Sounds like Poppy's going to be in Vegas in a few days, and she's going to hunt down this Whataburger. Lorraine just pre-ordered Whispers.
Thank you, Lorraine. You're the best.
Alex says they still have the escort cards, and he's actually working on his collection currently. Shane says the Whataburger is glorious. Poppy will be searching for Whataburger cards. I was also in Vegas in June, Poppy, so
escort cards.
It's possible. Were you the person that like tried to run me over on the strip?
Maybe.
That's true. Lorraine is the go, but no answer on the attempted manslaughter.
Oh.
We'll have to see if Poppy tried to kill me or not.
Alex, I know that stuff is rough for book marketing, but this seems desperate.
Well, you know, there are a lot of
Sounds like
people
an
who are
idea.
looking for an escort who wears a toupee. So moving forward,
Rude.
next question. So I'm all about the funny characters. That's my thing. I like a good witty character. And so my question here is, who is your funniest character?
I would say probably Harwood from An Inkling of Flame. Because every book I try to have just the longest, dumbest joke you've ever heard. And Harwood's is my favorite right now. And he just has a few good quips throughout the rest of it.
As far as funniest character, I think I would have to give that to Pale. You know, he's sort of an older, crotchety character who has a lot of euphemisms and sayings that are sort of unique to his dialogue. And so I think that would be it. And more often, I tend to write those old grumpy men to be sort of funnier, you know. So I think it would have to go to him, but it just depends. I'm not too sure. I don't write a lot of humor. I think our resident humor writer would be either you or Sean, right? Like both y'all.
I mean, Sean probably is more like full on humor.
Yeah.
Whereas mine is more like snarky characters, but not a lot of the like actual situations that are happening are not funny.
Yeah, like kids in danger and peril. It's like
kids in danger and like, you know, people getting slaughtered and battle and all that kind of stuff.
The usual stand-up comedy routine, you know.
I mean, hey, did you hear the one about those kids who died? Like, you know.
That sounds awesome.
We know my favorite, or my my favorite, but also my funniest character is, of course, Corden. Greg's over there like, no, it's not Corden. Who would you say is the funniest?
No, I mean he is. It's just he's such an eye roll character. He's so annoying. He's great. Yeah, the wit and the banter. But my favorite is when he gets called out for not being as like witty or clever as he intends. So you have a few good cuts in there.
Clever as he intends.
Yeah.
On that note, have we all read The God's Blood Tragedy?
Yes,
I have. Yeah, I believe so.
Bill's funniest character.
Are we gonna shit talk it? Okay, I'm ready.
Let me. Any day.
I've been waiting for this moment.
Hold on, I got a whole monologue about this.
no. Gonna have to cut that. Get copyright struck. I guess
Most funniest character, Strix. End of story.
Strix, yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's the first one that comes to mind. I think Logan and his sister had a joke or two between them, maybe a little bit more. Like
Nina is going to end up being the funniest because she's my favorite, but she didn't have that big of a role in the first book. But
yeah, I think he said it's extended in book 2.
Character now and like a bigger deal going forward. So I think
she's just such a sort of over the top flamboyant character, and those big personalities tend to, quickly become, favorites for one reason or another. So
yeah,
I think he also said she was the only one like kind of safe in general, which could be a lie because Lion Bill Williams, him.
So our next question, kind of going on with what Lorraine is saying, talking weapons are chef's kiss. Well, we're not going to talk about talking weapons. We're going to talk about weapons. So as a writer who writes fantasy books, what is your choice for like the best weapon that a character can have?
Dude, in Malazan or Malazan, if you're, if you want to be right.
Excuse me, the pretentiousness of this chat just went through the roof.
I'm going to put you the rest of these pronunciations, but Onamander Rake has this sword called like Drakenper or something, and that's the coolest weapon I've ever heard of. It like, if you get killed by it, you get taken into this like soul realm where you just like move this chained cart for eternity.
Yeah.
That shit was dark.
Yeah, that's pretty sick. It makes me think of like the Elder Scrolls, like the weapons that like suck your soul. That's essentially what it's doing, right? But then the author went and was like, oh, not only is it doing that, but
suck your soul is a good smut term. When we come back to that,
we'll need to. I mean, maybe that'll be the title of my erotica.
Greg, what are you thinking? Was that your answer from Elden Ring?
No, that's just what it reminded me of. So my go-to weaponry, despite I think historically they've proven that swords like were fine, but they're not like the end all be all, right? I think I'm a sword guy through and through, and we can blame the fantasy and stuff I was raised on for making swords seem so dang dope, but that's almost always going to be my go-to for like a character, which is why like, oh yeah, in Binding Tenants they use magic, but oh, guess what? One way you can use magic is sort of create like a sword of light, essentially, right? Like a lightsaber-esque like magic thing, and it's like, that's just my go-to. I love swords, so
I just
love. And I don't even own one.
I own a foam sword. I got to get a real one. But basically, I am all about not a real pointy one, but
no real swords.
I want a metal sword, but I don't need it to have an actual like usable edge. Point. I'm not planning on like actually stabbing anything with it, but I want one that looks like real. But I just love a massive great sword. Obviously, I mean, I wrote Jen in my novels carries a massive great sword, which she's named after one of my wife's like great aunts, because why wouldn't you name your sword after an old woman from Arkansas in the early 1800s? But there's something about those massive swords, kind of like also a halberd and a pike and some of those, just like those huge medieval weapons are just, they're cool. There's something about them that I like. Here we go. We actually are going to talk about this here today because Bill's not here and we can talk about it if we want to. First off, Alex said frying pans, which are obviously amazing. We've all seen Tangled, I assume. They are the best. Shane says a needle.
Well, I think he's referring to the Game of Thrones weapon.
No, he's just talking about like a little needle.
Oh, okay, sure. Okay.
That's what they do at the University of Oklahoma. But throwing daggers. So I am currently reading this little series called The Greatcoats. Some of you might have heard of it before. And there are lots of throwing knives in this series. And so a good friend of ours, Bill Adams, has said that one of his least favorite tropes in fantasy, and one of the things that always makes him roll his eyes and hate something, is if people throw knives or daggers, because he thinks that they don't work and actually like they're not a good weapon. And so whenever people do something like that, he's just like, no, it's terrible. You
As
take
usual,
all the
Bill is
throwing
wrong.
daggers.
I used to have a set, and they were super fun. I never tested on a person, but I used to have like a wooden fence post that I just like put a target on, and it would go pretty deep into that wood.
I see it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a little like you need to be a certain distance. Like if you put me at a random distance with a moving target, Bill might be right. That might be like a 50-50.
So you mean in like the instances that like most of the time he would be throwing a dagger, he might be right? Like
it's specifically 7 feet away, so I know it'll be fine if I step my right foot.
He's standing specifically still. I got his ass.
What I would say is like if someone is like they spend all their time training on throwing daggers and they have these like daggers made and weighted
perfectly
for something
weighted,
like that,
balanced,
they
weighted,
could be really good at it. I think what Bill's kind of more talking about is just like normal fight person fighting picks up a dagger and is able to like throw it across and like hit someone through the eye and kill them kind of thing.
Perfectly kills them. The hilt doesn't hit them instead and bounce to the floor, and now your weapon's gone. Yeah.
I'd say like if somebody was trained in the art of throwing daggers, then they could probably make it work. But just like your normal everyday person, I do have one thrown dagger in my book, and originally it actually did connect and like hit the person in the leg, and I changed it to where it just sort of like clatters off of them because it's like a 13-year-old trying to throw a dagger at someone like several yards away, and he's not a fighter, and it was probably like, okay, the chances of him actually hitting this dude are probably not that good. I actually
just wrote a scene with a throwing knife like last week, and pretty much the same thing happens where it's like a chase scene, and like they're chasing him down the alley. He's about to turn into the street, so the guy throws the knife, and it just like sails over his shoulder, just totally worthless. So Bill will like it at least.
Yeah,
Bill will be like 5 stars. The throwing dagger did not work.
Bill will probably be 4 stars because I liked the throwing dagger not hitting, but there was no smut, so.
0 smut.
All right, let's see. What was my next question? So let's talk about writers that you would say have influenced you or that you aspire to write like, or just like that you admire.
I got my list pretty much memorized where it's Joe Abercrombie, Anna Smith Sparks, Sebastian de Castell, Patrick Rothfuss, which I go back and forth on him, but god damn it, Name of the Wind is so good. Anthony Ryan, Quentin Tarantino, and Steven Erikson. Those are like my big 7. And I actually have like a life goal of getting one of my books onto each of their bookshelves, which I've already gotten the copy to Anna Smith Sparks and Sebastian de Castell. Quentin Tarantino, that one might be a bit more challenging, but that is one of my core life goals.
Just get it on a shelf. That's cool.
Yeah.
I mean, Anthony Ryan's on Instagram.
I've talked to Anthony a few times. That dude's cool as hell.
Yeah.
Like, despite his successes and fame and skill and, talent and whatever fucking else this guy has, this guy's got it all. But he still, will converse with me out of nowhere.
Alex is.
For Tarantino. I see.
Yeah, for Tarantino.
For Tarantino. Yeah, I think my list is a little bit shorter. So I was raised on Game of Thrones, fantasy wise. So Lord of the Rings, Game of Thrones, Terry Brooks. I don't know why I did that. Yeah, Lord of the Terry Brooks, George R. R. Martin, J.R.R. Tolkien, and then modern authors like Joe Abercrombie, Scott Lynch, Fonda Lee. A lot of those works just like really, really worked for me. And I don't think I'm anywhere near some of those levels yet, but I definitely try. I try to improve with every book and see sort of like what I'm doing right, what I think I'm doing right, what I'm doing wrong. And if I had to say like what my biggest influences are, it's kind of hard because for sure Abercrombie, a little bit of Brent Weeks, even if I don't really love the way he ends his stories. I think that he's just a competent writer in general when it comes to like characters and plot. And then like I just don't get me started on Lightbringer. I loved the first 2 books in the series, and then I was like, oh, what is going on? Why is it changing like this? It just a smaller list. Geez, yeah, sorry. And yeah, and Dresden Files, Jim Butcher, actually huge inspiration. I haven't written anything in that genre, but absolutely love his writing. So
It's interesting. For me, I didn't read much fantasy I read a few fantasy books growing up, but I read a lot more sci-fi. And then I read a bunch of literary fiction because I was in college for fiction writing and then a master's degree for fiction writing. And it was all literary fiction and everything like that. And I really started reading fantasy again in like 2020, 2021, and read the Riria Revelation series, Michael J. Sullivan, all of Scott Lynch's Gentleman Bastards books, Nicholas Eames, Kings of the Wild and Bloody Rose. And I really liked the Books of Babel, Senlin Ascends books from Josiah Bancroft, even though the last book was not very good there. And just kind of like got really into fantasy, and I started playing D&D. And then now I'm just like, fantasy is mostly what I read, and I've not read any of Game of Thrones. I have not read any of Malazan or Malazan, and I won't be reading any of that one because it just absolutely does not sound like something I want to read.
It's so good, dude. I promise. It's so good. Although
nope,
I'll say I did DNF Senlin, so like maybe our reading is just like way different.
Senlin is just I love a witty book.
I thought it was so dry, but like not like British dry where it's funny. I just didn't like invest in it at all.
I really liked it. It had some it had like vibes to some of the literary fiction and like classic novels that I've read, especially in the first part. But then once he like gets into the actual tower and keeps moving up different, going through the different things, I really enjoyed that one. I love books that are funny, but with serious events. It's like funny characters, serious events. And that's kind of like I DNF'd Shadow of Our Dying or whatever that book is called.
No way.
It's so good. It's like, I thought it was terrible.
That's crazy.
And I read like 30 pages and just like, I have no interest in reading any more pages.
Oh, dude, I really still hate Malazan because like I hated Senlin, you hated this book. I love Malazan. Malazan's a great series.
Different tastes. That's how it is sometimes. Have you read The Black Tongue Thief, Dave?
I have it.
Yeah.
And it sounds like one that I will like.
Yeah, I really loved it. I think. But a lot of good humor.
Actually listen to it. Or I
have
the paperback. I also have the audiobook. That's the one that I'd probably do the audiobook. Just because I get through books faster that way. I'm really enjoying the Great Coat series. I think I liked Play of Shadows better than I'm liking. I'm almost done with the second book in the Greatcoat series, and it's not as good as the first book in the Greatcoat series. And it also, like, I feel like Play of Shadows was better than both of them.
I think
but
Play
he's
of
also,
Shadows
I mean, probably grown as a writer since these early Greatcoat books as well. And I'm also a theater teacher.
Him dial to 11. You know what I mean? Like,
What'd you
it's
say?
kind of like Play of Shadows is kind of like Sebastian de Castell dialed to 11. Like, you've ever heard Brandon Sanderson fans be like, Wind and Truth is like, if you like Brandon Sanderson, like, you'll really like Wind and Truth. But if you just like his books, you might not like it. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, that's how I feel about Play of Shadows. Like, it's his strengths and weaknesses just magnified.
I absolutely love it, but also I'm a theater director. So
Yeah.
I think, like, I love a story with a theater troupe. And that's one of my favorite tropes. And I also like a story where the main character is not a good fighter and not a, like, you know, so like one of the biggest issues that, like, with the Greatcoat series is that they're so good at fighting all the time. They're not, I mean, Falkio might not be the best, but he's pretty darn good. And it's like sometimes I like it whenever someone's, like, really not very good and they have to use their wits to kind of figure out how to get out of these situations. Like, one thing I love about the Lies of Locke Lamora series is that Locke kind of sucks as a fighter. I mean, there's a few moments where he's able to do something, but in general, he's not a great fighter. And, like, John is a good fighter, but it's like not everyone is always going to be, like, the greatest group of fighters ever. And so I like it whenever you have characters who have sort of the physical weakness, or because it's just kind of, it's not, well, you get the whole, like, they're a farm boy, and then within 200 pages, they are the most powerful person to ever exist and are the chosen one who will like save the world. And it's kind of like, I like it better whenever they're not the chosen one, they're not saving the world, and they're not that strong.
Yeah, competency is something that you can play with a lot with your characters. Like, what are they competent in? What aren't they competent in? And have a way to, like, drive plot and growth with that. Because, yeah, I don't think every person should be super competent in fighting, because, you know, if you've done any sort of fighting, you realize it's not something that the average person probably isn't just good at it, you know? Same with, like, sword play and stuff, and magic, reading, cooking. You know, it can apply to any sort of skill that might take time to master.
Yeah.
So, love me some incompetent characters.
Dude, kind of related to this, I love a good coward.
Ooh, okay.
Yeah, like Micro Birdie has a great coward.
Micro Birdie is a great coward. Is that what I'm hearing?
Holy.
Both has and is.
Hey, Rowdy.
I'll stand by both of those any day. But, like, you know, you take Orso from Age of Madness, who, like, doesn't like fighting at all. Like, Orso's one of the best characters I've ever read. And he's kind of just like this cowardly, like, entity almost.
Orso.
Yeah.
I mean,
Orso was a great character.
Shadows.
That's not, yeah.
He's a coward, and I love it.
That, like, the book literally starts with him running away.
Mm-hmm. And that just, to me, I'm like, yes, this is my kind of character.
Yeah.
Because immediately they're like, how can we figure this out without actually having to, like, be the one fighting? Because not that good at it. All right. So what are some books that you are currently reading?
My e-read right now is book 3 of Obsidian Path, and Into Sorrow by Michael R. Fletcher, which is very solid. I especially love that cover on the first one. You can kind of see his prose, like, evolve as he's written. It's really good stuff. They're super dark, which, Dave, I don't think you'd like it since you DNF'd in The Shadow They're Dying, but it's a good book. And then my physical book is Age of Arrogance by Timothy Wolf, and Timothy Wolf is awesome. As we're probably all aware of this chat, but I'll praise him for a minute anyways. I saw the potential in his first book. It's like a debut, so there's a few times where you're like, it's a small plot hole. That's like not how character really, talks or whatever. And then the second one, you're like, Timothy Wolf has become a must-buy author like immediately. Like as soon as he took like that second step, you're like, this dude can write. And Requiem of Dice is actually my most anticipated book this year.
What is Requiem of Dice?
So he wrote the Whisper That Replaced God, and that's a little novella. And then Requiem of Dice is supposed to be the first book in the series.
Oh, okay.
Like the first.
I've read Whisper, and I'm excited for the second novella. And that I didn't actually know the name of the actual series.
Yeah, so we're getting some inside scoop.
I think it's public knowledge. If it's not, then I'll Venmo you. Tim, if you're still in the chat, I'll Venmo you $5 because I'm really sure it's public knowledge.
Probably was mentioned somewhere. Yeah.
Yeah, you guys just aren't good friends, is what I'm hearing from this.
See, I thought the name of it was Requiems of the Deepest Black, but I might just be getting my signals.
It's similar. It's similar, yeah. Breaking news. I just finished last night, actually, on the plane. I finished Riven Earth by Zamil. And it was good. I really enjoyed it. It started a lot warmer for me. As far as like I really, really liked it. And then by the end, I still enjoyed it. But you can tell it's part one of a 2-part series, which if I have any complaints about series, it's like when a total arc doesn't get wrapped, like some sort of arc. There is resolution at the end of this book, but you can tell that it's very much followed up by the second, which is intended. I think he released them like back to back almost within like a very close period. Highly recommended his book. Fantastic prose. Glad I picked it up. My audio book.
Dark.
Huh?
I've also heard that one's very dark.
It is very dark, but it's not oppressively so. Which would be funny because there's not a lot of levity throughout. There's hardly any breaks in it because this is like, without giving away too much, it is definitely on the down like slope of like the world starting to maybe fall apart. So it is very dark, but it never felt oppressive. There was always like some bit of hope shining through, and I think that's a nod towards like his skill as an author, right? Like it never felt like, oh God, like bad things are continuously happening, but it never felt overwhelmingly dreadful. I'm going through the Dungeon Crawler series on audio. That's my audio read, and I think I'm on like book 5. So I've been powering through them because it's just fun. It's just a fun book, a fun series, I should say. And then my physical is The Shadow of What Was Lost, the Lacanus trilogy. I'm still working my way through the physical. I've just been focusing more on like beta reads and alpha reads. So I've got a few different books queued up. I think I'm either about to start Pathlighter on ebook, or it might be time for Wingspan of Treason. I got like 5 or 6 books lined up, and I was knocking out like the shortest ones to the longest. And so I think I'm close to Lamia's, but I might not be there yet. So
everyone I've heard talk about Wingspan of Treason just says like it's an absolute masterpiece.
I feel like it probably is. I haven't, like I said, I'm not to it yet, but everything I've heard about it internally and outwardly is like, yeah, this sounds fantastic.
First 45 pages are fantastic.
Oh,
but
that's how far.
More beyond that.
I thought you were about to get a hot take, like the rest of it.
Incredibly well written. Like
it's actually it's so funny. After the 45th page, it's just page. That's all it says. It's crazy.
It says blurb a lot. Just the word blurb over and over.
Blurb. I read some of it, and then I got sidetracked with some other books that I was also trying to finish. I haven't gotten back to it. Probably because I'm a slow reader sometimes when it comes to like non-audio. I can read a novella pretty quickly, but like reading a chunky like 600 and whatever page novel on like just reading that, it takes me a while sometimes. And so I need to like actually carve out the time to read it. I need it to be an audiobook, but mommy is being boring and not recording.
She's a little preoccupied.
Nah, not at all. She needs to
figure
and what are you currently reading, Dave? Did you say?
I have not. I am reading The Oathsworn Legacy by K.R. Ganji or Gangi. I don't actually know how you'd say his last name. It's one of the SPIFBO finalists, and I'm about halfway through, and it's a lot of fun. It's very interesting because it's like all of these sort of short stories almost about these two brothers for the first half, and then the second half is a little bit more of like a cohesive story. So it's a very interesting structure. It gives off a lot of like Witcher vibes and also like Reria Revelations type vibes. There's a lot of banter between the two main brothers, and they're also monster killers, which gives off the Witcher vibes, but it's a lot of fun. And then I'm listening to Night Shadow.
Yeah. Have you gotten to that scene yet? Too? Yeah, it's Night Shadow.
Night Shadow. I'm almost done with that.
Dave, have you gotten to that scene yet?
Which scene is that scene?
There's like a 6-page sexual assault scene.
Oh, no, I've not gotten to that yet. I've heard that it's coming. I think I have 3 hours left on the audiobook, so it's either right at the end of the audiobook or
it's near the end. Yeah, they're just long.
But I mean, I know that happened in the past because it's already been like mentioned, but I had heard that there was a scene. So
it's kind of wild that he wrote that, to be honest.
But then I have Dungeon Crawler Carl book 7 ready to go next because the pre-order came through, so that's my next audio as soon as this one is finished. And then so Oathsworn is my physical, and then my Kindle book. I just started one of the novellas for Sphinx called Once We Flew by Nikki Lee, and I've read 2 pages. So I have no opinions yet on those 2 pages beyond that it were the first 2 pages of a book. Probably going to have to reread them again because I read them this morning and I don't remember it now. Which is not a criticism of the book at all. I started to read it and then something happened, and I haven't gotten back to it, and now I know, like, okay, I need to reread those pages because I don't remember anymore. But that's what I'm reading currently. Lorraine liked Once We Flew. She's already read it. And just reading the books, writing the books, all of that fun. So we've got one more question today. And for that, we're going to get a little spicy. Are you guys ready to get spicy?
I'm ready to say fuck you to Greg. You give the word.
I mean, I just changed my question. This is a better question anyway. All right. If you had to write into a character, so Zach, this is for you. If you had to write a character named Greg into your story, how would they die and why?
They would die the moment they're introduced because their name was Greg. I'm thinking like 6 spears to the midsection, kind of all like crisscrossing. So it's not like an immediate thing, but maybe like some like 6 burly, or no, let's get Alex's 8 burly dudes wielding some spears and then lifting old Greg up by the aforementioned 8 spears. And they can be any spears you're choosing. They can be smutty spears, they can be grimdark spears, whatever spears you want, just all into the midsection, intersecting, and then lifting up.
Can they like spin
Cool.
him around in like sort of a like synchronized dance?
It might depend on what kind of spears we're talking about and how big they are.
Well, 8 guys with glistening abs with smutty spears dancing.
Yeah, rippling vein.
Yeah. It's going to come as a surprise to you guys. I have a scene very similar to that at the end of book 3. So you'll just have to read and find out.
And then, Greg, your question. If you had to put a character named Zach into your book, how would you kill them and why?
Probably just put him in as like a beggar on the street, who gets not even integral to the main story. He actually gets maybe off screen by a throwing dagger, just straight between the eyes. Nothing
my
too
death
crazy.
can annoy Bill, then it was worth it. That's all.
Yeah. Yeah. You're welcome. I was thinking of you when I decided it. Yeah.
All right, Dave, if you had a guy named Bill in your book,
how would you kill him?
Oh man, I've been waiting years for this question.
Years.
So this guy named Bill he'd be in a brothel, first of all. And he would be like having the time of his life in this brothel. It's been a great day for him. And then the door opens up. This woman walks in with a massive greatsword and just splits him in half.
Oh, wow.
Where does she insert the greatsword?
Into his head.
Okay. Which head?
The
Both.
bigger of the two.
Vivisected.
Bill is Lord Mute. Basically, Shane.
Cool.
We're still waiting for Bill to learn the silence.
A lot of shots fired, poor guy.
We love Bill.
Dave did say it was going to get spicy.
And then finally, one last little bit for you to we've got right here the bigger that still doesn't clarify. Didn't say that I was trying to.
Yeah.
Next, finally, one last chance to sell your books. Tell us where we can buy your books, find your books,
Excuse me.
talk about your books, and just, leave us with a as soon as the stream ends, we are going to immediately go and buy your books.
Yeah. Inkling of Flame, it's 99 cents on Amazon or $7 for physical. If you like Name of the Wind, Joe Abercrombie, Quentin Tarantino, dual narratives, bantered blood, grimdarks, cute foxes, but your money's still green. I don't really care why you buy it. It doesn't matter to me. So if any of those things sound appealing to you, found family, war, death, blood, etc., then pick up an Inkling of Flame. It's only $1. And it makes me feel good when I see the numbers go up.
Hell yeah.
Greg?
Same thing. I don't know what they're priced at right now. I had to do some adjustments recently to try and get them in a book deal eventually. But Bloodwoven, Bloodbound, Bloodless coming out in 3 short months, less than 3 months now. And that's a complete fantasy trilogy that deals with the stolen history, lost lore, a soldier who turns into a hero who is worried he might turn into a monster, all while trying to protect what semblance of himself he has left. So that's the main series. Dave also mentioned I do have a short story collection, which has just an absolute baller cover by the same artist who did my other series, and a novella, book 4, Blood. No, there was, I don't have any intention to return to this world, but we were talking about it in the chat the other day, and I was like, it would be kind of interesting to take the baby from this generation and have her be a main character in an eventual trilogy.
Too bad she
Blur
died
Blood.
in book 2, but
She, the baby lives. Damn you, it lives. But yeah, I've got all my stuff can be found on Amazon. Some of it can be found on my website, which I have in my bio on X, and those are signed editions. And I'm working on maybe putting together a special edition of the trilogy. Once this one releases, I'm looking into that. So keep your eyes open for news on that.
all right.
That's
And
it.
I'm Dave. I wrote The Envoys of War. It is right here. And you can buy it on Amazon. You can also buy signed copies on my website. And I've got an audiobook coming out pretty soon.
Are you all out of the special editions?
No, I still got some of the Mustaches of War special editions. I think I've sold. So I said that I was only going to do 20 of them because I didn't really think anyone was actually going to buy a Mustache book. And then people were like, oh, so I just posted the cover and people were like, you need to make that a special edition. I think I've sold 10. So I've got like 10 more. So like, if anyone wants a signed, numbered, limited edition with mustaches on it, there's still a few of those for sale on my website. But this is a good talk. You guys, everyone out there in the chat, thank you for being here. Please buy some books. If you've already bought our books, there are so many other great indie fantasy and sci-fi books out there. And as always, when you do read those books, please rate, review, shout out to the heavens about it, scream about them, and tell all your friends that they also should buy those books. And yes, go buy the Cute Fox book. Nothing bad happens to the foxes.
Unlike the baby book.
Yes, everything bad happens to that baby. All right, well, we are going to, as Mike Molman would say, wave awkwardly to the camera until the stream ends. But thank you, everyone, for coming.
Tattoos. Bye. Keep on waving. Keep on waving. You didn't press the button.
The end stream button.